Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to LinkedIn Tuesdays. It's February 23rd, 2021. We're very glad you're with us today. For those people on Zoom, if you have questions throughout the presentation, please just enter your questions into the chat box. And for those people watching on Facebook right now, you're welcome to enter your questions into the comment field. I am monitoring that feed, and I'll be sure to get those questions answered as they pop up. For those on Zoom, we ask that you use the speaker view, which is in the lower left-hand corner, and where that red arrow is, you can grab that white line and change the aspect ratio of the speaker and the PowerPoint presentation. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career FW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comments, name, and picture to appear. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. In 2008, I founded Career DFW to help those in the Dallas-Fort Worth area in their job search. In 2012, I expanded out and started CareerUSA.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It's available on Amazon for $15. I also facilitate and lead the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. I'll tell you about our upcoming program this Friday at the end of this presentation. And since 2017, I've been a member of the Practice Interview Team. We have 4 outstanding speakers who are with us each week, and they each talk about things a little bit differently, and that's why I like having them. Locke is a career consultant. Terry Sullivan is a sales and marketing leader. Ruth Lipsky is a career coach. And Kurt VandeMotter, our speaker today, is the founder and CEO of Linked Executive Search. He pays LinkedIn $10,000 a year to use the recruiting package. Sadly, Kurt just texted me about 15 minutes ago. He's unable to be with us today because he has a phone call that he's got to be on with, I guess, one of his customers who actually pays him to do things. So what we're going to do today is I'm actually going to show you last month's presentation from Kurt. So you'll still be able to see the recruiting package and the things he talks about. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat box. And at the end of his presentation, we will get those questions answered for you. The questions you're going to hear during the presentation are questions that were submitted a month ago. So give me 1 second here.
Don't much pay attention to what you see on the screen right now. What I want to talk about is just a couple of things that are really relevant to this group. So Jeff, thanks for having me, and everybody else. I hope that you can get a tidbit out of what we're here to talk about. This meeting is really for you all. So if you've got questions, I encourage you to send a note to Jeff. He kind of moderates and helps me out while I'm presenting. But if you've got a question, we want to make sure that we get to your questions, because that's more important than anything else I have to say, is making sure that you go away with a tidbit of data. So let's start off by just saying that what we're going to look at today is we're going to look at LinkedIn Recruiter. And not many of you have had the opportunity to use this product or have the opportunity to even get a glance at it. And it's not that it's that magical, but what I want to do today is, in the next 45 minutes or so, is share with you a glimpse of what I look at, or what recruiters look at. Now, I didn't write the book on recruiting and using LinkedIn, so I'm not going to suggest that there's a lot of other things that recruiters do and can do and use that I don't use. But I hope that what I can do is just shed some light on what we look at, how important this LinkedIn profile is, how important it is that you take the time to put your best foot forward, because this is going to be the first point of contact that most of you have with your next employer, whether that's a recruiter, an internal recruiter, an external recruiter, or just a hiring manager that's doing the work on his own. Okay, so some real key basics with LinkedIn are that, one, we want to make sure that your contact information is in your LinkedIn summary. In the summary section, If you don't have that in your summary section today, I encourage you to do that. And I'll show you why in a little bit. It'll become really obvious why that is important and why it's a differentiator. Not just important, why, it doesn't make it easier, but it is a differentiator, okay? Secondly, I want you to think about this product. LinkedIn developed this a number of years ago. And somebody on a call earlier today kind of informed me or educated me on something that I wasn't aware of, that Korn Ferry was instrumental in helping them develop the LinkedIn Recruiter product. And they always thought that, man, somebody's going to come in and LinkedIn's likely to do that and kind of end the recruiting business as we know it at Korn Ferry today. But what I want to refresh you is that it hasn't changed. Korn Ferry is still there. They're very successful, as are many other recruiting firms. But the bottom line is that we all use this product called LinkedIn Recruiter. And when we're using LinkedIn Recruiter, what they did is they built LinkedIn Recruiter with a separate set of APIs. So it sits on top of LinkedIn. So you've got LinkedIn Recruiter up here, you've got LinkedIn down here, and then you've got all the forks that go into the database. But the important thing to note is that when I am using LinkedIn Recruiter, when I'm in the product and looking at candidates, you as a candidate cannot see me. That's one of the first questions that candidates ask me. No, I can see you. Well, you will see recruiters pop up that have looked at your profile, but they are not using the LinkedIn Recruiter product, because I have the ability, and I can show you here today, where I can look at 100 profiles in an hour. And so if everybody that I looked at had the ability to then reach back to me and say, hey, Kurt, I understand you looked at my profile last week or yesterday. I'd like to talk to you about what you're looking at. I'd never get anything done, and therefore I probably wouldn't be a recruiter. So we are invisible to you as candidates. We're invisible to you. But at the same time, let me just give you a glimpse behind the curtain. To show you a little bit about what the LinkedIn product looks like. So this is a screen. I can go back and this is my LinkedIn profile. Then I've got a recruiter tab that I can go to. I come over to my recruiter tab, and my first screen gives me a glimpse at projects that I'm working at, jobs that I might have posted, any reporting. These are recent jobs and stuff that I was working on. I have the ability to do this advanced filters, but I'm going to get there quickly by going into history and going to this search, because I did this earlier, and I think it's fairly demonstrative of what we want to look at. So I have the ability, as you can see here on the left side, I have the ability to look and search for a lot of different things. I can even go to advanced search and pull up even more things as far as experience and recruiting and activity and languages and so forth and so on. Okay, so I have a lot of things that as a recruiter I can look for. But one of the first things that we consider as a recruiter looking at is we go to this thing called more likely to engage. It's in the spotlights section. Okay. So spotlights gives me a couple of categories. One is this tab that says that these candidates have self-selected that they are open to work. Most of you have already selected that. You've got two options when you do that. You can put I call it a wreath around your neck, a green wreath that demonstrates visually that you're looking for a new job, and that's a visual to recruiters and other people. Or you can turn that off and you can be still open to work, but you don't have that wreath around your head. But that is really important for you as a candidate to check that box, because as a recruiter, we're looking to try to engage with candidates as quickly as we can. And we're trying to start, we generally start, again, I don't know that every organization follows this practice, but we want to start the funnel as big as we can. We want to start as big as we can. And so we're not trying to exclude people, but at the same time, we want to try to engage with people that are willing to or want to have a conversation. Then there's this tab that says more likely to reply, okay? Are more likely to respond. LinkedIn, if you don't know this, tracks you as a candidate. They track you, they track me. And they track to see whether or not I am replying to messages or not. And so if you want to be in that bucket that tells recruiters that this is a candidate, that if you send them a message, this candidate is more likely to reply to your message than other candidates, then make sure that you reply to every message that you get in LinkedIn. You can't fix the past, but I encourage you to just go forward. That can just be a thanks, I'm not interested, I'd like to learn more. I'll pass it on to my network. You don't have to write them a 3-paragraph note about why you're not interested in being a broom salesman that pushes a cart through the neighborhood. That's acceptable. Somebody might want that job, but you don't have to tell them why. Just no thanks, I'm not interested. So just make sure you're replying to every message that people send you in LinkedIn. The others are pretty self-explanatory. Past applicants, or we have a connection somewhere. So I'm not interested in that. I'm really just trying to generate and talk to new people. So open to work, more likely to respond. In this case, I'm looking for in the locations of Detroit, Toledo, the Lansing area, Flint. All those areas are generally in the metropolitan area of Detroit. They're within an hour and a half drive. I'm looking for, meant to put that in there. I'm looking for a marketing, let's put in a marketing director, okay? Now you can see my funnel starts to get a little bit smaller, okay? So these are people that now they're open to work, they're more likely to reply, they have been a marketing director, they have that title in their background somewhere. And because I'm trying to build a big funnel, what I might do is I can go in there and check whether they're current or past, and I'm interested in current or past, but I'm going to go ahead and click on a couple more titles in here that are product marketing coordinator, that are similar to a regional brand manager. I'm trying to get that network a little bigger. It's only going up to 79. So I'm not looking for a senior global territory sales manager, vice president. So we got 79 people in our funnel. Not a huge search for this particular job that I'm looking for. And this is just a made up search. But I've got the territory. I'm looking for people that have got product innovation and strategic thinking. Now, those are things that I can continue to select because they provide them to me. But there's another place here at the bottom where I can put in keywords, or I can build a Boolean. So if I've listened to my client and I hear that they're looking for, these 5 different things that are not necessarily on the job brief, but these are things that they want this candidate to do, then I may put that into a Boolean, or I may put these into keywords. This is where, when you get advice from people that tell you that you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is full of keywords, this is why. Okay? I'm going to pause for just a second. Does anybody have any questions?
So far, nobody's entered anything. So.
Okay. Well, and I'm not watching the number of participants. We're at about 83, Jeff. So I'll watch that. If it starts to dramatically decline, then I'll stop and ask questions.
So this is an all-time high. We've never had 83 people on a LinkedIn Tuesday. So thank you. And we have 10 more people on Facebook.
Well, that's awesome. That's an attribute to you, Jeff. And I mean that. I mean, folks, I hope you remember Jeff in so many different ways, not just, to buy his book, but spiritually. I mean, this is a guy that puts himself out there every day to help people like you and I and other people. So Jeff, this is my next mass is to you, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay, so back to LinkedIn. So you can see how I can then quickly put in a lot of different things. One of the things that candidates always want to hear about is this graduation. And so I have the ability, if I want to change it, modify it, slide it around, change the dates and so forth. But I don't think that it's appropriate for this demonstration because we only have about 79 people in there. The question, though, that comes up, it came up this morning, and I'll use it. I'll give this example again because I think it's a good one. And if anybody else has got any other suggestions, Jeff, you might have an opinion on this as well. But they asked whether or not, you know, it's okay to not put in your college graduation date. Okay. And the question is if you don't put in your college graduation date, will you not show up? Because I've explicitly said that I want only people that have graduated from 93 to 17. And the answer to that is no, you will fall. I will still have access to you. You'll be there, but I will never be able to see your date of graduation. My point is if you're trying to hide something, we will find out if it's important to us, because we're trying to plug in numbers based on the years of experience the company's looking for, or they want somebody to be there for the next 20 years. And we've got to mathematically try to figure out when you graduated from college so we can try to figure out how old you are. We can do that pretty easily. So I don't have an opinion about putting that date in there or not, but it doesn't hurt you if you don't put your graduation date. Jeff, if you had the same conversation, do you have anything to add to that?
You know, if you don't, let's say if you don't put in your graduation date, they're going to either see you on a video interview, they're going to see your picture you have on LinkedIn,
exactly,
current, and they're going to figure it out. So don't hide it. I mean, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it. You're trying to hide something, you're never going to hide it. I mean, I had a buddy of mine that is a good friend of mine. You could say anything. I could say anything to him. He was that kind of friend. And I met him for coffee one day and he showed up and he had dark hair. And I was like, George, what did you do? I said, who are you trying to kid? And I said, you look great, but you know, if you're trying to hide that gray hair, it's never going to work, buddy. It is what it is. You are what you are. You are as old as you are. So a little humor to the situation, but that's my general feeling. And Jeff, I agree with it. Don't try to hide it. If I was looking in particular industries, I could then select those industries, or I could put other words in there. I can use as keywords. If I know let's just say I was at an event recently in Detroit and I met somebody and I had their first name, but I don't have their last name. And I kind of know the industry they worked in. I have the tools to get pretty close to finding that person. If they're an executive and they're in LinkedIn and they're working, I will generally be able to find anybody in LinkedIn. So now let's go back to just hitting send in our search here. So we've got about 79 people. I hit search. And I'm just going to show you, in this particular search, I want to add that I didn't put it in there, but my client also would like for this executive to have their MBA, okay? So I only have 82 people to look at, not a lot. I can look at those 82. We could look at 82 people in the next 30 minutes on this call. I mean, that's how quickly I can look at the candidates. So I'm looking for candidates that have got brand management. I'm looking for people that have got X number of years. I can look in here and see all of her work experience. This particular candidate started working in 1996. That's about right. She went to school and got her BA in 94. So there's a couple of years missing there, but I'm confident that that was filled with something positive. I can click on her profile directly. I can more easily see exactly where she's been at. If I don't know a company, for instance, I don't know who Campbell Ewald is, I can go directly to their LinkedIn page and see that they're a full service integrated marketing communications agency. Okay, so she's worked on the agency side. Close that, close this. I see that she's also worked Zenith, so she's a technology person. I'm just going through this like really quick. I was looking for strategic thinking, so you can see where that's highlighted in her profile, okay? Product innovation, an example again. I have more if I want to. I can look at other experiences, volunteers that she does. But this generally, I can buzz through this literally in about 8 to 10 seconds. Now, this is a candidate that has indicated that, let's see here. She is open to work, okay? She's given me a lot of keywords. This is where those keywords pop, okay? If I had put in other keywords, social media, marketing analytics and so forth, that I'd put those, they would have all been highlighted in here. But she's actively potentially looking for a job, but she doesn't give me her phone contact information. Okay. What did I say earlier? Giving me your contact information in your summary section is a game changer. I want to talk to Tammy, but now I have to go to resulting to looking or using an in-mail. I can select a template. I write templates so that it's really easy. Click on that. It's a note. I have to change 1 or 2 words in it generally. I can attach the job brief and I send it out. And then I can save her to a project. So those of you that have been involved with HR and maybe in your company in the past, and they had an applicant tracking system, LinkedIn is to some degree providing a mini applicant tracking system. So I have the ability to track candidates, put them into a project, manage the communications with those people, send messages, big messages out. If I've got 100 people in the project and only 10 have replied, I can send a blanket email out to 90 new people that are those 90 that says, hey, I know you're really busy, but if you've got a minute, I'd love to connect, new opportunity, and bump up. And I just give them a short little tidbit to hopefully they say, yeah, I'd like to learn more. Okay. Because that's all I'm trying to do is create conversations. And this is the tool that gets recruiters to that point. Okay. So great profile, not a lot about what she's done recently, but she's only been there 6 months. Okay. So I don't know why she's actively looking, but it wouldn't be uncommon that she, took an opportunity and through COVID, it's just not working out the way she wanted to. So we're not going to judge her, but we want to have a conversation with her. So I quickly go back and I go, Kevin, boom, boom. He's got a master's. He lives in Macomb. That's close to where my office is. He's an automobile guy. Okay. I can see real quickly he's an automobile guy. But that's okay, because this is an insurance company that I'm working for. And I'm looking for just a really solid product marketing gal. So I'm really not concerned about the fact that he's only worked in automotive. Okay. Again, I'm trying to create conversations. He was in the National Guard for a long time. That speaks highly of, that he's sustainable. He's got his master's degree from Walsh College. I don't know it well, but I grew up in Michigan, so I know a little bit about it. Again, I want to talk to this guy. He's got virtually nothing. Well, there's his summary right there. So very little of a summary. He is open to work, but he hasn't given us any information, not a lot of information. And so he would then, be a candidate again that I've got to go to sending it in mail and hoping that he's a candidate that will reply to me. Okay. And that's all we can do is just hope that you guys reply to us when we send those messages. Barry doesn't have a master's degree. Here we go. Julie does. Boom. Click on Julie. I'm trying to find somebody that has given us their contact information. She hasn't either, but she's open to work. So now I can also see 3 connections. These are people that we're mutually connected to. I don't recognize any of those names right off the top of my head, but I've got like 10,000 contacts. So it doesn't surprise me that I don't, but I'll click on it to see, since I don't have her contact information and I'm going to go on the gut that she's going to be interested in replying to me, I'll send her an email. But this is where recruiters are responsible for sending really exciting, not provocative, but enhanced notes to you as a candidate that gets you to want to have a conversation with me and not send that reply back that says, no, thanks, I'm not interested. So questions now. You've seen a little bit more of the product and how I use it.
Yeah, all of a sudden we got a whole bunch of them popped up here. Do you want to define what a Boolean is?
Yeah, Boolean. Boolean is a search term that is, it's similar to if back in my Fortran days. So I'm looking for a marketing and I put and in capitals, director, not manager, and so I can take all these key words and put them into a Boolean string that says and not and this and that. and equals, and and normally you wouldn't do it in LinkedIn because LinkedIn gives me so many tools, but I can take that Boolean string and throw it into Google or into some of the new search engines, and I'll find people, their bios, I'll find a speaking bio, I'll find an article that was written about them in the Dallas Business News, and eventually I'll get to their LinkedIn profile. But it's a new way it's an old way for recruiters to just try to find you as candidates out there other than just using the standard tools of LinkedIn.
Great. Susan asked, is there a cap on skills?
No.
Well, in the skills section, you can only list 50 skills, but beside putting them there and having them in your profile, you
Correct.
also want some of them in your About Us section.
Exactly.
Section.
So if you're talking about the skills that a candidate's got in the bottom, there is a number of skills that you can put into this section here, okay? As a recruiter though, I don't use it for all jobs. Here's where I did use it. Any of you that are in manufacturing, I recently did a manufacturing director for a company that was looking for somebody that had CNC lathe experience. They had to have metals experience. And so that is a category when I was searching for those candidates, because they were really hard to find, this skills and section really helped in finding and identifying those candidates that had those strengths. So if you're not using that section, I do encourage you to go in and fill that out for yourself.
Okay, DB asked, where are the keywords best located within your profile?
DB,
everywhere.
Yeah, DB, my dear friend DB, I'm so glad you're here today. DB, for those of you that are on the call that might need help with a resume or a LinkedIn profile, I've known DB for a long time. She is an amazing person, but in addition to that, she has amazing skills to help candidates translate and build that word, those key words into your LinkedIn profile and your resume that are really differentiators. So if you want that contact information, Jeff's got it now. I introduced them recently, and certainly you can reach out to me and I'd be happy to introduce you. But DB, the answer to that is everywhere. Keywords just can pop up in so many different places. I thought it was a brilliant example of what we looked at earlier, where the first gal that we looked at up here had inserted all those keywords at the bottom of her summary. This whole section there, the core competencies. Before LinkedIn used to track the number of words, what we used to do is recommend to candidates, if they didn't want to use keywords like this, is to create your profile in a Word document, copy and paste it over, but at the bottom of that document, put 100 keywords, but put them in white so nobody can see them. Just put them in white. But LinkedIn picks up those white words now. So this is another good way to do it. If again, I'm not critiquing this young lady's profile, good or bad, but she didn't post her resume in here, so you can see where she's got a reputation for, and she's used a lot of keywords there. She helps her clients, so it's not a bad profile. But back to DB's question, keywords everywhere.
I think, Ruth Lipsky, who's our speaker next week, in fact, she's on the call right now watching and seeing what Kurt's talking about. She says rule of thumb is 3 to 5 times. You want those keywords in the profile 3 to 5 times. So make sure it's in your skills, make sure it's in a couple of your jobs that you've done, and make sure it's in your About Us section. Because you can see when Kurt's looking through the profile, they're highlighted. Any of the keywords he puts in here, it makes them real easy for him to go through and find things. I remember a couple of weeks ago, you went and a couple months ago, you showed us a profile and you put a keyword in. It only showed up in his skills section, but it didn't show up anywhere else in his profile. And you went, oh, well, does this guy really have this experience? So right. Make sure those keywords are everywhere.
Yep.
All right, Jim asked, where is the more likely to respond button located? Well, that's only on Kurt's version. That's not on the version we get to see.
Yep, you don't get to see that, and there's nothing you can do. There's no button you can push. The only thing you can do is reply to messages that people send you.
All right. Vanessa asked, if your job title from your company is obscure, should you change the title to something more searchable? For example, my current job title is Senior Manager of Operations in the outside, and in the outside world, I'd be considered a Senior Manager of Facilities. So what do you recommend when you have that obscure job title from your company?
So read the question again.
Well, what do you do if your job title from your company is obscure?
Obscure. Okay. So I think the rule of thumb there is that, you know, you can't, do not ever lie on an application, folks. So that is first rule of thumb. Do not ever lie on an application. But on your resume and on LinkedIn, again, I'm not asking or suggesting that you lie, but if you've got a title that's obscure, then, and again, DB would be a great one to ask this question to, but I think, Jeff, the general rule would be if you want to modify your title a little bit, then modify it, but maybe you put in parentheses what your actual title was. Or somewhere in that first bullet that you say as da 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 da, da what you really did in that job. Because even though it may seem obscure to you, it may be more common than you think it is. And so don't throw the baby away with the bathwater. Don't overthink that title, because we're not necessarily looking for titles. Yeah, if we're looking for a CMO, we're looking for directors and VPs that are ready to be a CMO, and we might be looking at CMOs too, depending on how many years of experience they've got. But don't throw the baby away with the bathwater on that one.
Right. And as Susan said, I put both titles with a slash between them. And
Yep.
I think that's fine because, you know, what if you're a customer service rep and you're applying for a customer relationship specialist? It's
Exactly.
the same exact job title. So list them both as your, you know, when put the first title, whatever the real title is, and then you can list the second title or third title if it would be the same thing. And always be sure to use the titles that LinkedIn uses. Because as you saw when Kurt was putting in job titles, he was picking what was already in there. He didn't go try to create something different. So
Right.
make sure you use those default job titles. Okay, that's it.
Good. Okay, so again, now we just continue as a recruiter. I just continue to build my funnel, and I look at these profiles really quickly. Whether you've got a picture, does it matter? No, but I recommend that you do. If you're in a job search, it's time to update your picture. You don't have to go spend a lot of money on a picture that you have taken. You can do it with an Apple phone, or have a friend or a partner take that picture. But make sure it's an updated picture. Really silly, but make sure it's just a picture of you. I can't tell you how many times there's two people in the picture, and the name on it is Tracy. I don't know if it's the girl or the guy, right? So just make sure it's a picture of you, and instead of where people don't put pictures in, I just highly recommend. Here's an example where I call that wreath around, where this executive, Carl, has clearly identified that he is open to new opportunities. He's actively looking, and he's telling everybody that by putting that wreath on. Where other people that have self-selected that they're open to work, they haven't put that wreath on. Here's a gal, Linda, that doesn't have the wreath on, but she's open to work as well, okay? Here's Linda, so you can see we're really clearly, she's given us her contact information. So it's not because I'm connected to Linda, but in here, she has made her contact information public. A game changer, because I'm a recruiter. I told you I can look at 70 or 80 of these in an hour. My objective, and so let me tell you a little bit about a recruiter and how we approach a job. Is once we've gotten the order, once the company has made a decision that they're going to use our services, obviously one of the next things is to learn more about the job. And by that time, we've probably reviewed the brief. We've had probably an hour or two conversation with some of the executives about what they're looking for and what do they want this executive to accomplish. And we're taking notes on keywords throughout that process. But then what happens, and again, this is not necessarily my secret sauce. I don't know that Korn Ferry, and those folks do it this exact way, but in general, the next 2 or 3 weeks a recruiter is generally spent with their head down. And they've either got a big research team, if they're with Korn Ferry, that's working on looking for and identifying candidates, or if it's a boutique like myself, then I generally get involved and stay involved in the entire process, even through selecting candidates that I want to talk to. So for 2 weeks, that's all I do. So you can do the math, 2 or 3 weeks, you can do the math. I've got 8 hours, 10 hours a day. And I do other things, but I've got quite a bit of time on my hands to really dig into the network and to try to turn the dirt as many times as I can to uncover as many candidates that I can. I start big in that funnel. I start big because it's just started. We haven't even started to interview candidates. We're just trying to fill a funnel of candidates that we might have a conversation with. And then as we continue that, candidates start moving through the funnel. And so I want you to, every one of you on this call, I want you to try to be at the front of that funnel for every search that's going on that could be a potential fit for you. And I know I'm beating a dead horse, but it comes back to give us recruiters your contact information, phone number and email address in your summary section. It's a game changer, and you will receive phone calls quicker, faster than you have in the past, because recruiters would much rather pick up the phone and talk to you or send you an email than send an in-mail. We don't like to have to send in-mail. Questions?
Yeah, a couple questions. One, Robin says, so the wreath is not derogatory, making one look desperate. I hear that it could. So I'll tell you my point about the wreath is probably 50 to 70% of recruiters out there do not pay for the recruiting package. I know there's a firm here in Dallas, they have 30 recruiters working there, and none of them pay for the recruiting package. They use basic LinkedIn. So how are they going to find if you're interested in working without putting that wreath on there? The other issue also is your friends who happen to be on LinkedIn may see your picture and go, oh, I didn't know you're out looking for work right now, and reach out to you. So tell everybody, listen, you're not desperate. You're not the only person out looking for a job. There are millions of people out there looking right now. Even when times were good a year ago from now, when the economy was really booming, people were still looking for jobs, and it's okay. So
absolutely. And and to add on to that, Jeff, I think that you hit the nail on the head, and you bring up a really good point, and that is, and this isn't what we spend time talking about on LinkedIn, but I'll divert just a little bit. And that is one of the tools that I recommend to candidates is they activate their network and they tell everybody that they know that they're actively looking for a job. When I was looking for a job, I would go to the grocery store every day. And I always went in peculiar hours where I wouldn't just see the guys that were coming home from the work to go to the grocery store. I went during the day, and I'd wait until the checkout lines were full, and I'd get in line, and I probably talked a little bit louder than other people, saying, yeah, this is really fun going to the grocery store every day. I meet so many new people looking for a job. And I generally came home with a business card or two from somebody that was, my husband's a recruiter, or my husband's got a company and he might help you. And when I went to meet people, I'd go 20 minutes earlier. Now we can't do that anymore, but I'd go to the bar 20 minutes earlier and I'd talk a little bit louder to the bartender in hopes that maybe somebody else might hear me. So there's a lot of things that you can do, but one of the things that Jeff hit on was that a friend or somebody that you work for might be going through LinkedIn and you haven't shared with them yet that you're actively looking, and they don't know that. They haven't seen you in a couple of years. That is a big visibility, a big view that, hey, this is somebody that I should probably reach out and talk to. But in addition to that, I want you all to think about activating your networks. And so when I talk about this, I'm deviating here, Jeff, briefly, but I call it the prayer letter. And I want you all to think seriously about this. So every one of you has got contacts that you've worked with, people you work for, companies that have called on you, people you've met at trade shows. I don't care if that list is 100 people or 400 people or 90 people, 20 people. I want you to go out and build that list, because your network is your net worth. I want you to develop a list with all their email addresses. And the first thing I want you to do is activate your network by reaching out to every one of those people and calling them or emailing them directly, individually, to say, hey, I want to schedule 15 minutes of time to talk about where I'm at in my career right now. You want to create conversations with that list as you can. Next thing you need to do is, after you've done that, 30 days later, you got to remind that network you're still looking. And so what I suggest you use is a prayer letter. The prayer letter is something that I came up with a long time ago, and I should have patented it, but maybe I'll write a book about it someday. It says this: you grab all those email addresses and you put them all into a BCC, no to's and no CC's. And the subject matter, it says, great people know great people. And in the body, it says, if you didn't know what I was up to these days, you never know that I was looking for help. I'm looking for a new opportunity. And some of the target companies I'm looking at this month include, and you give them those target companies. Anybody that you know, feel free to forward this on to anybody you know. And if there's anything I can do for you or anybody in your network, don't ever hesitate to call. I'll be back in touch in 30 days. Have a blessed day. You need to send that note out every 30 days, because once you activate your network and you've told those people that you're looking, if they don't hear from you in 30 days, they're going to assume. And we hate that word, especially in job search, because assume means that they've assumed that you found a new job. And we don't want that to happen. Instead, we want to be able to share with our network the when we got that job and how great it was and how much we appreciate everybody's help. So if you're not using the prayer letter, I know it's not LinkedIn oriented. If you're not using the prayer letter, highly recommend you use it. Everything's in the tape that Jeff just put together here, so you can go back and listen to what the email message says. But highly, highly recommend that you leverage your network. And LinkedIn is a great place for you to do that. But make sure that for recruiters, you're making yourself really easy to find.
Right. And so Bill, Bill says in the about section, should you have your phone number as well as your email address? Yes to both. Make it easy. For those people who don't want to put their phone number out there, you can get a Google Voice number and have that number roll over to your personal number. So if you're interested, I mean, that way everybody can have a phone number. You can publish that phone number, make it easy for people. Rusty asked specifically, how do you turn on the reef? I don't see that on Linda's profile. So obviously she didn't turn on that feature.
Right. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on.
I can tell you.
Oh, go ahead.
So it's, if you click on your picture where it says view profile, and your profile view comes up, and then right at the top, under your picture and under your name and your titles, there's a little box that says open to work with a pencil, and you click on that, and there's a bunch of options in there, but you can find the open to work wreath option in that little box, kind of at the bottom left under your picture in the profile view.
Thank you.
Yeah, so once you've selected open to work, you have to then click on the option, to let everybody add the reef on there. Let's see here.
I think Patty's got a question for us. She's asking to be unmuted.
Okay. Go, Patty. You have a question?
I don't have a question.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry.
What's the difference on using Indeed and LinkedIn?
Well, I would use both. Indeed is more of a job search engine than it is to, I guess you can post your resume there. I guess it's similar to that. I'm not as familiar with Indeed. I have used it to search for candidates in the past, but it's not a tool I use frequently. So I'm not as familiar with what they offer candidates as much as I know what they offer employers as far as searching for candidates.
So I do have a question, and Jeff is asking the same thing. If you don't have a current job, because we're out looking right now, what should you put down for a current job? Or does that matter when you're searching?
Yeah, I think there's so much vulnerability in the market right now, Jeff, that as I screen for candidates, I will tell you that pre-COVID, there were companies that I'd engage with that would say, I would really prefer a a passive candidate, somebody that's not actively looking versus somebody that's been unemployed for a while. But those times have changed so dramatically in such a short period of time. I've still conducted searches through the COVID, still conduct a lot of calls and with CEOs. And I'm not anybody has ever said to me, you know, I don't want anybody that's not worked through the COVID. I'm not hearing any of that. So I think that you can do one of two things. You can put, if you're doing any kind of consulting, if there's any opportunity where you can say that you're currently doing something, then that's great. And if you can't, then I would end my job at, you know, Pepsi May 2020 and just leave it at that and not try to make up something that I'm doing.
Okay. One of the other tips that I've heard about that is, you know, because to be an all-star, you have to have a current job, is that list the job title that you're looking for. In the name of the company, put your phone number, and then list 2 or 3 bullet points of your major accomplishments underneath it, letting people know you're open to work.
Yeah.
And when you get a job, you can just delete that entry.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I hadn't even thought of that. That's
It also adds you could add more of your skills underneath that too. So it'll reinforce it.
Skills, keywords, all that kind of good stuff on there.
You'd have to be pretty specific as far as what you were looking for in that particular case. If you were just a marketing director and interested in and had the flexibility to work in multiple industries, you might be putting yourself into a little box, but I'd have to think about that. I think that's a great way though to maintain you know, that you're current.
Right. Could you do me a favor? And you didn't show that this time. Could you start a new search to show all the people on LinkedIn, and then when you click on those that are active, and then add those couple little filters, those that respond? I think it's really eye-opening to see.
Yeah. So I'm going to just go to an advanced filter. This is completely blank, so I haven't selected any total candidates yet. Somebody shout out a title you want to search for.
Well, first click on more likely to engage. That way we can see. So 730 million people, and let's see.
47 million.
47 million people out of the 760 are more likely to engage.
That's right.
So everybody on this call, we'd up that number by 88.
Right. Well, I've got past applicants in there. I really should go to more likely to respond. So more likely to respond and are open to work, 53 million.
Right. So it makes a big difference from 760 million people who are on LinkedIn.
Yep.
You know, set yourself out there for that.
Exactly. And then you can just see how quickly, if I just put in Dallas, how quickly that number starts to go down. Yep.
All right. Somebody's looking for a senior ServiceNow developer.
A senior service male?
ServiceNow. I guess that must be a platform.
Okay.
ServiceNow is one word.
So, okay.
I guess, yeah. You can just make it all one word. Bump that together. You don't need to put the Boolean search in between. I'm going to stop the video. This was a pre-recording because what he'll be doing is here's a couple searches, and I just want to be able to answer some questions that people had. So one of the questions that people had was, where do you add or delete the title of, you know, if you're open to work? So here is my profile right here. Move this out of the way. So you want to click on the little picture, view profile. So you're viewing my profile. You see here that I've actually built into my background picture my phone number and my email address so that anybody could find it very, very easily. It's also in my contact information, whatever. But if you go down here to my next job, whatever, if you click on the little pencil, Up here is where you pick a couple job titles, you pick whatever stuff you want to put in to tell the recruiter. But down here, you can select recruiters only or all LinkedIn members, and that would add the little banner, or it would take the little banner away, depending what you want to tell people to do. So adding the banner or not. As we talked about, it's a good idea to add the banner because there are a lot of recruiters out there who don't use it, who don't use the system. So it'd be beneficial for them. What other questions do people have? I'm trying to look back here. LinkedIn is currently back up. So it's sort of interesting. If Kurt had been with us live today, we wouldn't have been doing anything because LinkedIn was down up until 10 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago, and he wouldn't have been able to show anything. So the fact that we actually showed last month actually worked out really well. If anybody else has got a question, I guess unmute your mic or you can enter them in the text box. Oh, Leah asked on Facebook, how do I turn on and off the open to work from an iPhone? Leah, I don't know. I don't have an iPhone, so couldn't tell you that answer.
A lot of these functions, you have to literally either be in the app or on a, in my case, I have to be on a laptop to see several of the things that you normally hit on the website. I've tried it with Safari and a couple of other mobile browsers, and I still wind up going back to my laptop to make any changes in the LinkedIn thing. I don't know if it's something they specifically set up in the app or if the Safari browser just doesn't like some of these switches.
Right. So, I think a lot of times apps don't have fully developed, they're not fully developed, or they don't, they can't give you an option. Because, you think about it, there's so many options. If you look here under security or settings and privacies, looking at all these things here, it'd be very hard to put all this stuff onto an iPhone, onto a little small screen for you to really read what's going on. So you probably do need to go to a PC or Mac. Okay, let's see here. Al asked, I've been laid off as of January. Is it better to have the end date as such or just leave it as is? I wasn't clear what the best method is. I would say put your end date in January. Or your end date is 2021. If you don't have to put the month, don't put the month. On a resume, you're not going to list the month. You're just going to list the year. So, 2021 is still current. I think that, if you wait 30 days before you do it, that's probably okay. But I think after that, you need to let people know that you're currently out looking for a job. And you create that new job. And that new job is the job title you're looking for, or a couple job titles. In the company name, you list a phone number and an email address. And here's something really interesting. Let me show you. Somebody did. Let me go to messages, notifications. So I want to show you Christina Matthews. This is her profile. But look here, it shows up here, and these are the jobs that are usually listed. Her last job is her email address and her phone number. Because if we come down and look at her current job, she's been unemployed since October, and she lists a couple things that she's doing. Personally, I would list things that my top resources. She's listing her volunteering here. But because in the company name, she listed her email address, and look, well, I can't highlight it, but she highlighted her email address and phone number, it pops right up here at the very beginning. I thought that's very, very unique. So I just wanted to sort of point that out. So yes, I think it's best to, have a current job. Just say that because if you don't have a current job, you're not an all-star, and all-stars don't, you want to show up at the top of the list. Does anybody know why the chart showing the number of views in your profile are no longer available for free users, only premium members? It's because Microsoft owns LinkedIn. Microsoft wants your money. That's why they stopped doing that. So let's see here, viewed my profile. Yeah, I used to have it. I don't have it anymore. I don't pay for the I don't pay for the full version anymore. They took it away. They realized they were giving it away for free, and they've gotten rid of that. Let's see here. Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? If you want to unmute your mic, if you want to ask a question.
Hi, Jeff. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, Rosemary.
Hi, this is Rosemary. I have a question regarding the settings for notifications. How do you stop notifications from sending an email out, a notification out, if you attend an event through LinkedIn?
I would just go through your privacy settings and just check each one out. I'm not really sure. You know, I'm sure LinkedIn's trying to promote events. I've never created an event on LinkedIn because I have too many events to create. It would be too difficult for me to get them all on there. So, you know, LinkedIn is trying to maybe be a bit more like Facebook with events and stuff, and they're trying to be more, you know, trying to be everything to everybody. And I think it's hard to do. What they used to be was great, and what they've become is a little bit overwhelming with all the different options. So I'm sorry, I don't know. Check each one, just go through your privacy settings. I think one of them is called visibility. Maybe under the visibility section, it'll say something. All right, I just wanted to, well, you only got a couple minutes left here. Next week, our speaker is Ruth Lipsky. She's going to talk about LinkedIn search engine optimization. So how to get your LinkedIn profile so that everybody will be able to see it easier. All right, I need everybody, if you can, please raise your right hand and please repeat after me. I, Jeff Morris, promise to always send a personal note whenever I send in a LinkedIn request to connect with anyone. This includes when I'm on my cell phone or my computer. Please, 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 please always send, be very, very careful. If you see a white connect button, that's not going to let you send a connection. But supposedly if it's blue, you will be able to send a LinkedIn send a personal note. So please always send that personal note. It makes it a lot easier. And plus, I can go back and say, this is where we met. So I really appreciate it. For those people who are veterans, there is, you can get a 1 year of LinkedIn premium if you're a military or a veteran. You do have to list your military service on your LinkedIn profile. So Career DFW, we're putting on training every Tuesday through Thursday, well, Tuesday through Friday, and starting next Monday, we're going to start a new workshop all about networking. I'm going to have 8 to 12 speakers. Everybody, it's be the speaker, one speaker a week. Each week will be a different speaker. So that'll be starting next Monday, March 1st. So you can join us at 1 o'clock for networking. As you see the theme here, Monday at 1, Tuesday at 1, Wednesday at 1, Thursday at 1. So, you know, get your lunch, bring your lunch with you. You can sit here and eat lunch while you're watching our workshops. Tomorrow, Wednesday, for our Interview Wednesday workshop, we'll be on session number 8. It's all about asking questions, how to ask questions during an interview. On Thursday, we'll have our Effective Resume Thursday. We'll be doing resume tips, and we'll be giving away 2 licenses to jobscan.co. Which is a great way to compare a job description and your resume to see how good the match is. That's be for a free month of use of that. This Friday at the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, Friday at 9:30 in the morning. Keep your eye on the prize, continuing learn and adapt for career success. And then next Monday, our first speaker is going to talk about the secrets for effective networking. So join us next Monday at 1 o'clock for our new workshop. All right, let's see here. So if you'd like to join our LinkedIn profile, please join us on LinkedIn. Or if you'd like to join our LinkedIn groups, we have a Career DFW group. We have a careerusa.org group. The Career DFW group's got over 12,900 members. So the group, it's a great way to expand your connections. This session has been recorded. It'll be on the Career DFW Facebook page and on the Career USA YouTube channel. Please check each page. Please subscribe to both. We'd really appreciate it. On the YouTube channel, it should pop up playlist, and then at the very bottom, don't click on the video, but click underneath where it says view full playlist. And by doing that, then it'll pop up with a list of all the different speakers who've been talking. If you're not receiving emails about our workshop, if you found out about us through somebody other than an email, or if somebody forwarded you an email, you can sign up and join our email distribution list at Career USA Plus subscribe at groups.io, and you'll get 6 or 7 emails a week it'll have all the Zoom login information and talk about our upcoming program that week. Please note, Career DFW, we're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We have no full or part-time employees. I'm a volunteer. What I've been doing for the last 13 years has strictly been to give back. This is what I do to give back to the community. We survive on donations. It pays for Zoom. It pays for the web names. It pays for the web hostings. It pays for the fixes we have to do. If I can't find a volunteer to fix something and I have to pay somebody. So please consider when you get your next job that you please make a donation so we can continue to do what we're doing. So thank you very much for joining us today. There's the email address if you need it again. Have a great week, and hopefully LinkedIn will be back up and you can spend some time working on that.
Thank you, Jeff. Awesome.
Great, thank you.
Have a great week, and hopefully we'll see you later this week.
Yes.
Have a good day.